All right. Identifying parallel lines. Corresponding angles are congruent when the lines cut by the transversal are parallel. The converse of this relationship is also true. If we know that we have two lines cut by a transversal, so that corresponding angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. If corresponding angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. Remember that word converse that we had from the last module? Means we switch things around. The corresponding angles theorem said if my lines are parallel, then corresponding angles are congruent. This is the switch of that. If corresponding angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. If a given line and a point not on that line, or if given a line and a point not on that line, then there exists exactly one line through the point that is parallel to the given line. All right, let's look at these converses. Parallel lines that are cut by a transversal create several pairs of congruent angles. These special angle pairs can be used to prove that a pair of lines is parallel. We have our alternate exterior angles converse. So if I know that the two angles are congruent, then I can conclude the lines are parallel. If my alternate exterior angles are congruent, then I can say that the lines are parallel. If I know the consecutive interior angles are supplementary. So again, if I know that two consecutive interior angles add to 180, then I can conclude that the lines are parallel. Same type of thing for alternate interior angles. The alternate interior angles converse says that if I know alternate interior angles are congruent, then I can say the lines are parallel. Perpendicular transversal converse. The perpendicular transversal converse is a little bit different. This one says if two lines in a plane are perpendicular to the same line, then the lines are parallel. So if I have two lines that are perpendicular to the same line, then my two lines are parallel. Let's go ahead and turn the page. Start looking at some examples. Let's look at number 1 now. Use the given information to determine which lines, if any, are parallel. State the postulate or theorem that justifies your answer. If I know angle 2 is congruent to angle 8, well, here's angle 2, and here's angle 8. What type of angles are those? They are interior. Same side or opposite sides? Opposite. What do we call opposite side angles? Yes, these are alternate interior angles. I would be completely ignoring everything down here because these two angles don't touch anything down here. So I'm only looking at this transversal L and these two lines right here. So if L is the transversal and angle 2 and angle 8 are congruent, what are the lines that would have to be parallel? A and B. So I would say A is parallel to B. And then it said we have to give a reason, so I'm going to say by the, we said these were what type of angles? Alternate interior angles. So by the alternate interior angles converse. Anytime we want to end by saying the lines are parallel, we are using a converse. When I start by knowing the lines are parallel, that's just the theorem. But when I end by saying the lines are parallel, that is the converse. All right, let's look at part B here. We have angle 3 and angle 11. Here's 3. Here's 11. Which line or lines do neither of those touch? They don't touch B at all, so I'm totally ignoring this for right now. I'm going to ignore that line because neither of my angles touch that line. What type of angles are 3 and 11? Not consecutive, but you're close. They're corresponding. These are corresponding angles. They're not consecutive because consecutive you either have to have 2 interior or 2 exterior angles. Interior would be these angles in here, so like 3 and 10, or 4 and 9 would be interior angles. I have 3, but 11 is an exterior angle. So when I have 1 interior and 1 exterior, I check for matching corners. This is in the lower right corner here, and 11 is also in the lower right corner here. So those two corresponding angles are congruent, which means which two lines would have to be parallel? L and M. L is parallel to M. By the, what kind of angles were they? Corresponding angles. So by the corresponding angles converse. All right. Let's look at part C. We have angle 12 and angle 14. Here's angle 12. Here's angle 14. What line do neither one of those angles touch? Does not touch L, so I'm going to totally ignore L while I do this problem. If it doesn't touch it, we just ignore it. What type of angles are 12 and 14? Not corresponding. Alternate exterior, yes. These are alternate exterior angles. Interior would be 11 and 16, 10 and 13. Exterior are 9 and 12, 14 and 15. So 12 and 14 are both exterior angles, and they're on opposite sides of this transversal M. What are the lines that would have to be parallel if 12 and 14 are congruent? A and B. A is parallel to B by what? Yes, by the alternate exterior angles converse. So far, so good? Let's try more like this, but with a different picture. Let's look down at number 2. Use the given information to determine which lines, if any, are parallel. State the postulate or theorem that justifies your answer. First, we have angle 1, which is right here, and angle 15, which is down here. What line do both angles touch at the same time? Well, angle 1 touches L. Does angle 15 touch L? So L's not the transversal. Angle 15 touches M. Does angle 1 touch M? So M's not the transversal. Is there a line that both angles are touching at the same time? Is there a single line that both angles are touching? 15 touches K, but angle 1 doesn't touch K. Angle 1 touches N, but angle 15 doesn't touch N, right? This is not possible to determine. Angle 1 and angle 15 don't have any lines in common. All right. If they don't have a line that they share, a line that they both touch, we can't make any determinations about what would be parallel. They have to both touch the same line. There has to be a transversal. All right, B, it says angle 3 plus angle 10 equals 180. Here's angle 3, and here's angle 10. What line do they both touch? They both touch L. What line do neither one touch? M. So we're totally going to ignore M for right now. What kind of angles are 3 and 10? Interior, consecutive or alternate? Consecutive. These are consecutive interior angles. If the lines are parallel, consecutive interior angles are supplementary. These two angles are supplementary, so which two lines would have to be parallel? N and K. N is parallel to K by the what? Yes, by the consecutive interior angles converse. One more on this question. Angle 3 is congruent to angle 5. Here's angle 3. Here's angle 5. What line do they both touch? And what line do neither one touch? Neither one touches K, so we're going to totally ignore K for right now. What type of angles are 3 and 5? Interior. Same side or opposite sides of the transversal? Opposite. So what do we call them? Yes, these are alternate interior angles. So what lines would have to be parallel? L and M. L is parallel to M by what? Yes, by the alternate interior angles converse. All right, let's look at number 3, very bottom of the page. A little bit easier. I'm not going to make you give the postulate or theorem, or at least we won't need to write it down. Which lines must be parallel for the following to be true? Angle 10 is congruent to angle 13. Angle 10 is congruent to angle 13. What line do they both touch? X. What line do neither one touch? Don't touch T at all. So what lines would have to be parallel? K and W. So I would say K is parallel to W. Then we have angle 10 is congruent to angle 6. Here's angle 10. Here's angle 6. What line do they both touch? W. What line do neither one touch? Neither one touches K. So which lines would have to be parallel? X and T. X is parallel to T. Then it says 16 is supplementary to 12. Angle 16 is right here. It is supplementary to angle 12, which is right here. What line do both angles touch? X. What line do neither angle touch? T. Which lines would have to be parallel? K and W. K is parallel to W. 12 and 6. Angle 12 is here. Angle 6 is here. It says they're congruent. What line do they both touch? W. What line do neither one touch? So we're going to ignore K. So what lines would have to be parallel? X and T. X is parallel to T. Last one, angle 8 is supplementary to angle 3. Angle 8 is right here. Angle 3 is right here. What line do they both touch? They both touch T, and neither one touches X. So what lines would have to be parallel? K and W. K is parallel to W. Let's turn the page. Turn the page. Number 4, find the value of y so that line E is parallel to line F. Well, what's this symbol right here? Right angle. And if that's a right angle, and these two lines, E and F, really are parallel, what would this angle be? Would also be a right angle. Which means this angle over here would be how big? Be another 90-degree angle. So 4y plus 10 is equal to 90 degrees if the lines are parallel. 4y plus 10 equals 90 degrees, and the reason I can do that is by the perpendicular transversal converse. By the perpendicular transversal converse. That's why I'm allowed to set up this equation and set it equal to 90. We're going to solve this for x now. So first thing I'm going to do is minus 10 from both sides. That would give me 4y equals what? 4y equals 80. And then we're going to divide both sides by 4. What is 80 divided by 4? 20. So y equals 20. Nicely done. Let's look at number 5. Find the value of x so that line M is parallel to line N. Well, if these two lines are parallel, then what would that mean about these two angles? What kind of angles are those? Corresponding angles. These are corresponding angles. Are corresponding angles congruent or supplementary? Congruent. What do we do with congruent things? Set them equal to each other. So we're going to say 6x minus 3 equals 2x plus 1. And we can do this by the corresponding angles converse. All right, let's solve this for x. First thing I'm going to do is subtract 2x from both sides. So that would give me 4x minus 3 equals 1. Then I would add 3 to both sides. That gives me 4x equals what? 4x equals 4. So what is x? X is 1. Nicely done. That is where we are going to stop for today. We will finish the remainder of your packet tomorrow. The homework that you picked up on your way in the door is due on Monday. Monday and Tuesday next week, we will study for your test. Your test is on Wednesday next week. So homework is due on Monday. Test is on Wednesday. I'll go right back to that.